Well, all right. I just learned that I hadn't hit the go live button. Sorry. So anyway, welcome to Office Hours. My name is Sam. I guess I've been talking for 3 minutes and nobody has seen any of it because I forgot to hit go live in YouTube. It looked like I was streaming, but it turns out I wasn't. So welcome to Office Hours. Happy to have you. We do this every week on Thursdays at this time. My name is Sam. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. The way this works is if you have questions, you can go ahead and drop them in the live chat, and I will answer them in the order they are received there. If I am not receiving questions in the live chat, or we've gotten through everything that's currently there, I will go to questions that people asked in advance when they RSVP'd. And so go ahead. I will stop the RSVP questions when you ask live questions. And I'm happy to answer as many as you have if you're here in the live chat. I know sometimes we'll have people who get a little afraid that they're asking too many questions in the live chat. Absolutely not. I'm here to help and happy to answer your questions. But I do not see any in the live chat yet. So I am going to instead jump on in and do the questions that people submitted in advance. So let's start with one. Let me paste this in. Let's see. Oh, it's not going to fit. It's going to need two to fit. So there's the part one and there's part two. Hello. I would like to know if it's possible to send mass emails for my marketing operations because I have a file of 50,000 customers. If so, how can I create and import my contact list and which offer should I choose? In addition, do I use the GMass extension on my Gmail or do you suggest an external application? Does this tool exist in France? All right, we got a lot of questions there. So these are pretty introductory welcome to GMass questions, which I will address. With GMass, it's really easy to have contacts. We don't operate like a traditional CRM or perhaps other email software you've used where you have to import contacts, let alone create or build files for all of them or match up their data. Now, GMass works largely off of Google Sheets, where you can have all of your contacts in a Google Sheet. And every column you have in that Google Sheet represents a mail merge that you could use. So for instance, if you have a row and you have someone's email address, and then you have someone's first name. I'm trying to get this word. And then you have someone's first name. And then you have someone's business name. You can just use all of those. So you don't really have to import your customers. Yes, 50,000 is no problem. You may want to divide those up into smaller groups. However, even with spreadsheets, you can pick and choose which groups of those you want to use in Google Sheets. So yes, you can absolutely send emails to 50,000 people. GMass has a couple of ways that we help you break through Gmail's daily sending limits. And those are either by connecting your own SMTP server or by using multi-send, which is a way for you to distribute emails across multiple email addresses. So you can absolutely do that. You can absolutely import a contact list of any size because it's not really importing your contact list. You just need it in Google Sheets, and then you'll connect that Google Sheet and use it for your campaigns. GMass isn't storing your contacts. Again, we're not running a CRM or content resource. I think that stands for Content and Resource Management. I don't know. That's one of those the few acronyms that people only use in acronym form. So that's how you bring in contacts into GMass campaigns. You just keep them all in Google Sheets, and then when you need them, you connect those to an email campaign. So there's no sort of formal importing your contacts process that goes in the beginning of setting up GMass for you to use. You just connect to the contacts you need to connect to when you need to connect to them. I'm not sure what you mean by which offers should I choose, so I'm going to skip that one. Do you use the GMass extension on Gmail or suggest an external application? Well, I recommend the GMass extension because we do not offer an external application. The thing that makes GMass is that it works inside of Gmail. So the way to use it is to download that Chrome extension, connect your Gmail account, and then it will turn Gmail into your email interface that you can then use to send your email marketing campaigns or whatever you're doing with your list of 50,000 people. So there is no external application option. This is part of what makes GMass a bit unique from a lot of the other software you'll see out there where you have to go to their website or their application. Oh, we have a message from AJ here. I'll get back to that later. That was a campaign we're sending through GMass right now. does the tool exist in French? No, GMass is currently in English, and we have not localized it. However, it is there are a limited number of things you will see. Part of what we do with GMass is we try to keep it very simple. For instance, let me show you here. We add just a few buttons up here at the top of the screen, and then we just add this settings box. Again, there are not a ton of words here. So I think that there's anything that you might need, hopefully you can figure out relatively simply. So I hope that answers your question. If you have more pre-sales questions, if you're still looking into whether GMass is going to be a good option for you, you can go ahead and set up a support ticket, or check out, I'm going to post a blog post. Let me pull up a blog post right here. What makes GMass different blog post. Google has its own thoughts on that. Google's AI has its own thoughts on that, perhaps. But we have a blog post called What Makes GMass Better. It's really what makes GMass different. And that is why GMass versus some of the others, and is this the right software for you? So I'm going to share what makes GMass there in the chat. If you need more of an understanding about GMass and what makes it. Why the green screen is like knocking out part of my forehead, it looks like. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe my forehead is green right now. In my hand. Oh, yes. How freaky. What a weird effect today. Wonder why that's happening. Huh. All right. Anyway, that is super weird. All right. So that's what we're doing with the green screen today during our office hours. I have GMass poking through my head. Let me go back to the email, where at least it's just sort of whiteness from the background poking through my head. All right, let's answer another question. Still don't see any in the live chat, but I have seen people coming in, a few people coming out, coming in, coming out. If you do have questions if you're here and you do have questions about GMass, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. I will answer them in the order that they are received. In the meantime, I am going to try to fix this filter on my forehead really quick because it's freaking me out. We're operating without a net. Let's there. I don't know. I'm trying to. Nope, I cannot adjust the green screening. Again, I think it thinks my forehead's green or something. I'm not sure. So we're just going to go with sort of a fuzzy green screen behind me today so that it doesn't come through my forehead as badly. All right, let's grab another question. This person sent this question in. I need an audit on this, or I need an audit on this. It's in caps. It says I sent 730 emails. I sent 239. Okay, so first of all, the office hours probably isn't the best scenario for that because I can't diagnose your specific case right here. I can't get into your account here. What we can do here is I can give you sort of the broader theories why that might be happening. In those cases, though, if you have something like that happen, it's really best to fill out a support ticket in the GMass support system. I will put the link right here because if you... Why is that now? It's really best to, there we go, put a support ticket in the support system because then they can actually get into your specific email sending situation and figure out what went on. I can only do theory here. So I'll tell you some of the theory. Some of the possibilities were that you had auto follow-ups. You set up an auto follow-up. You turned those on. You might not have realized that that was happening. Or perhaps you... sent the campaign and didn't realize you sent it and then sent it again. There's not a lot of ways to send too many emails, but it is possible in those situations. Most likely, it's unexpected auto follow-ups that maybe you set and forgot to send, forgot that you sent or something like that. So we see a lot of people talking about when they send a campaign and it sends fewer emails than they expect. And that's often because of unsubscribes and bounces and issues like that. You don't always see people who are sending a campaign and seeing it send roughly 3 times more emails. To me, that feels a little bit like a follow-up situation, like an automated follow-up situation where perhaps, what happened to that thing? Where perhaps you had some auto follow-ups set here you had a couple of stages of auto follow-ups set to go out. So those went out without you expecting it, and that could have been what happened. It's also possible we do see some people who will send a campaign and then send it again from the draft and not quite realize it. So that could also be the issue at play here. Now the green square behind me is bugging me. So now I gotta. Oh man, I can't deal. I just can't deal. Nope, that's too much green. And now the green pokes through my forehead. Yeah, I don't know. I think my forehead is just green today. Let's try that. All right. Hopefully that's a little better on the green screen front. Yeah. All right. And again, welcome. If you have any live questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat and I will answer them right away. If not, I'm going to continue to go through some of the questions that people asked when they RSVP'd in advance. Let's see. Someone said, this is another one. My account appears free. We paid for a subscription. That shouldn't be the case, but you can always check here in the GMass dashboard. You can reach the GMass dashboard by hitting this icon. I have it open in another tab. Go over to the settings up here. Go down to my account. See your plan, and then it will tell you what kind of plan you're on. So this will let you know if you are on a paid plan. And you can always change your plan here as well, but this should let you know. So you can always double check yourself. If you continue to have issues with your plan, I recommend contacting support. One thing that does happen is that, I don't know if you noticed when you register for GMass, we don't collect information on you. This is very much done where all we're getting is your email address. So it is possible that you have registered, that you paid for the account and you were logged in or you used a different email address. And in that case, the subscriptions in GMass are tied to someone's email address. So perhaps you registered and you paid with a different email than you're looking at now. That other email has the subscription. If you don't want that, you can always go to GMass with that other email address, click on this transfer subscription, and transfer it to the email address that you want to have the paid GMass subscription. So that's what I would recommend. It's something to look into. There is a little ambiguity around that. Again, because it's this trade-off we make, right? With GMass, we're trying to make it as frictionless and as easy as possible for you to sign up. And because of that, we collect really no information. I don't know if you saw it. We don't need to know even your name, right? We don't ask for your name or your address or any sort of information other than you have to pay with a credit card and you need the email address for which the account is connected. And so, let me see. We have an account for a corporate email. It still says it's a free account. We tried adding the email to the account with our subscription. It says we can't add ourselves again. Okay, Tanya. Yeah, I would say that is the case. Definitely reach out to support, and they can sort of work through that. There may be something weird that happened in there, but I would recommend support can untangle that for you and make sure that everybody is connected in the right place and the account is done correctly. So yeah, that's the case. If it's not working through the dashboard here and you aren't able to do it, then that feels like it rises to the level of something that the support team can work through. This is not, it doesn't happen often, but this is something that they know how to deal with and that they should be able to clear up for you again with getting your account. We already contacted support. Well, support can actually look into the account. I can only share theory, so I will look into your support ticket after these office hours and see if I can figure it out. But yeah, they can do more than I can do here because I'm here in office hours. I can't go into specific accounts. So what I can do is I can just sort of, share my thoughts and hopes and hopefully, and then they can do the specific one. But I will go look and see your support ticket and see if we can figure out what's going on with your account and why you're having that issue. So sorry that's happening. That's annoying. I know for sure. And we'll try to figure out a way to work through it. And, I wish it were a little easier for you and disappointed that it's not. But again, we will be able to work through it. There is, I've never seen one of these that's like unresolvable. So we should be able to figure out a way to work through this and get that resolved for you. All right, let me do a couple more questions. Again, if you have live questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'm going to continue to go through. We have a handful more of questions that people pre-submitted when they RSVP'd, and I'm always happy to answer those. But if you have live questions, I will answer those in the order that I see them in the chat. So let me see what we can do. We have, how can I better track who I have already sent a certain email to from a list of 100 to better follow up with a second email? All right, well, there are a number of ways you can track in GMass, and we give you those options. This email keeps coming in, huh? It doesn't want to go away. All right, so with GMass, in the settings here, we have open and click tracking. Those are optional. You do need to have these turned on, though, if you want to use them. You can't retroactively go back and track opens or clicks, because the way that we track opens and clicks, opens are done through a special tiny invisible image pixel that's in an email. This is universally, by the way, in the email world, how tracking is done. And so that needs to be in your initial email for us to track opens. Likewise with clicks, the way we track clicks is that the URLs in your email are rewritten to go to a tracking URL and then redirect to their ultimate end destination. So you can't retroactively track clicks. Now, replies, we can track no matter what, with one tiny exception. But you don't have to turn on replies. Reply tracking is automatic. The reason that we don't make you choose whether to turn it on or off is because open and click tracking, because click tracking uses the rewritten link and open tracking uses the pixel, some emailers don't like to have any of that in their email. They like to keep their email essentially plain text because they're afraid it will affect deliverability. Replies don't do that. We detect replies when they come back in, so that is not an issue. That cannot cause any sort of deliverability thing. Whether or not open and click trackings do cause deliverability issues can depend on a few factors, but we track replies. However, we can't track them if you're using a different reply to address. For instance, let's say this is my burner account. Let's say I send them from Ferris, but I have the replies going to a different email account of mine. GMass can't get into that email account. So in that case, GMass can't detect that replies have come. So these are the ways that we can, but that's open tracking, click tracking, reply tracking. Assuming you have open tracking and click tracking turned on and you're not using a specific reply to address so that replies are coming to the email from which you initiated the campaign, then there should be no trouble in tracking who you've sent a certain email to. So let's talk about then sending a follow-up email. What will be great for the person who asked this question are our segmented campaigns. So this is a lesser used but very powerful GMass feature. It's one I actually talk about quite a bit during these office hours because I want to continue to bring awareness to it, and also because it really does help with a lot of the questions that people ask. So we're going to go up to this button right here, and it looks like my screen has frozen, so I am going to, this is symptomatic of this, so I am going to fix the screen, and so you can actually see. Fortunately, doesn't look like we missed too much here while the screen was frozen. So I'm going to fix the screen so that I can get back to streaming my window where I can walk you through this. Sorry about this. Where is this one? It's this window. Okay. So we're back on this window now. All right. So what we're going to do are segmented campaigns. It's this button up here that I'm mousing over that you can see. It looks like an envelope with the @ symbol coming out of it. And as you see, when you mouse over that, it says send a follow-up campaign based on opens and clicks. So I'm going to click on that. And what this now allows me to do is I can create a new campaign based on the behavior of users in a previous campaign. So let's say this was your previous campaign that you sent. You sent this campaign to people. And now you want to better follow up, like you said in your question, with people who, let's say you want to follow up better with people who opened. I can select the drop down here and send a new campaign to people who opened. When I click the Compose Follow-Up button, GMass will bring up the Gmail Compose window, and it will put together a new mailing list of everyone from the prior campaign who opened your email. And you can now send them a new campaign. And even better, if your prior campaign was connected to a Google Sheet, this follow-up campaign will also be able to access that Google Sheet, so you can use the mail merge values from that Google Sheet in this new campaign. Likewise, you could do all sorts of other things with these segmented campaigns as well. For instance, you could send a new campaign to everyone who didn't open your prior campaign. You could send one to everyone who clicked, everyone who didn't click, everyone who replied. And then a few of the ones that I really like are opened but didn't click or opened but didn't reply. Because that could be a follow-up campaign you sent to a group of people who you know had enough interest and were intrigued enough to open your email, but then didn't take the desired action that you had. So people who opened your email but didn't reply. Now, one of the follow-up questions I often get when I explain these are, can I trust open rates? Open rates have been through some things over these past few years. And no, open rates are not as perfectly reliable as they used to be. As I said earlier, the way we track open rates is using an open pixel. And there are a lot of ways now that, not a lot, but there one primary way that pixel is getting triggered incorrectly, which is Apple, most notably, but a few other email providers also now preemptively open all of the emails that go to an address. That triggers the open pixel, even if you didn't have an actual open from that person, which is absolutely frustrating. However, the good news is this is something that has not proven to be death to open rates. Here in GMass, we actually are so cognizant of it that we're one of the very few email software provider platforms that breaks out open rates without those Apple opens. So if you go to your analytics for a campaign, you can see your open rate, and then you can see your open rate excluding Apple Mail privacy protection users. So we show you the open rate, but where we filtered out all those fake opens from Apple. And since Apple is the biggest one that's doing this, that's making the biggest impact. However, I think what you'll see, and what we've found at GMass, is over larger populations of email, the open rate difference between the open rate and the open rate with the false opens is a lot smaller than you'd think. It's not like you're going to have an open rate of 75%, and then when you take out Apple's opens, it drops it down to like 30%. It usually tends to be more within, not exactly the margin of error, but a lot smaller. So I think you can still feel confident in sending opened but didn't reply and opened but didn't click, or even campaigns to people who opened or didn't open, and know that while, again, it's not perfect, it's close enough and it's still relevant. There was a lot of concern that open rate was going to just be completely irrelevant, and in the wake of Apple Mail privacy protection, amongst others, that has just not been the case. And we are now almost, 2022? So we are almost 2 full years into Apple Mail privacy protection going into effect, and opens are still a very popular method for tracking campaigns and for gauging the effectiveness, especially of the things that you gauge with open rate, like the effectiveness of your subject lines. And so I would still go ahead and feel safe using opens as a metric that I use to gauge my campaigns and that I could use to send follow-up campaigns. All right, let's move on to one of the other pre-submitted questions. I will keep going. If I'm not getting any live questions, I usually will end at around the 30-minute mark, just because, then it's just a lot of me talking to empty space. But if you do have live questions, I will take them and I will continue, and I can keep going for a bit. So let's see. Yes, this question is kind of related, and it addresses what we were just saying, which is, can we use links in cold outreach, or better not to? Good question. Yes, you can use links in cold outreach. Now, there's this set of unofficial rules that the most hardcore cold emailers follow. And one of those, and that they dogmatically prescribe to, is that you shouldn't have any links in a cold email. I am absolutely not of that mind. So what I would say is, if you do want to use links in a cold email, and you want to track those links, I highly recommend you set up a custom tracking domain. So let me pull that up so we can talk about it. A custom tracking domain. So here's what it is. As I said earlier, when you send an email with click tracking turned on, GMass or whoever you're using, MailChimp, whatever it may be, rewrites your link and adds and turns it into a special tracking link. So when someone clicks that link, it then goes to that destination. The click is registered, and then it redirects you on to the ultimate destination for that link. By default, you're using a shared tracking link. So when GMass or whomever, whatever email service provider you're using, rewrites that link, it's using the same URL, the same tracking URL as many other people are using, everyone who's using the default. Now, that, of course, opens you up to their reputations. Now, at GMass, we try to keep our tracking links as clean as possible and try to keep their reputations up. But there are always, at every email service provider in the world, there are bad apples who are constantly coming and constantly trying to beat the system. So the reputation of that tracking domain is still always just a tiny bit iffy, and we'd prefer not to use that for you. So we give you the option to set up a custom tracking domain. And with that, you set up your own domain. See, now here's an example of a general, this is a shared custom tracking domain, a shared tracking domain. But if you set up a custom one, let me scroll down to where I have a good screenshot of that. Here's how you do it in GMass. You set it up, your tracking. You have to do it at your domain provider. And then, I guess I don't have a good example of one here. But I set one up. This is my name. And then you have this. So now when we rewrite the links, we rewrite it with your custom tracking domain. So that way, the only person affecting your reputation is you. And that means that having this link, even this tracked link, is not going to just completely weigh you down. Not that, again, I don't believe that it will, but many people absolutely wholeheartedly believe that having any sort of link in your cold email is going to hurt your deliverability. Again, I just don't see that, but people believe it. So if you are going to track and you want to do this the best way possible, set up your custom tracking domain. And GMass, even beyond that, will add an SSL certificate to your tracking domain. This is something that not a lot of places will do to make that secure, to help it even be a little more of a deliverability boost. Now, as for having any links in a cold email, I like to always bring people back to the concept of a cold email, which is, yes, you're sending these at scale, but they're supposed to feel like one-on-one messages. They're supposed to be personalized and relevant to each recipient as if they received a one-on-one message. So if you were writing a one-on-one message to someone, wouldn't you put a link in it? You probably would. So that's why when I'm doing cold email campaigns, I like to just try to make it feel like it's a one-on-one campaign. And if a link makes sense, then I include a link. And I have not personally seen that. I think there's a lot more that goes into deliverability than whether you have a link. But it's just one of those, the 80-20 rule where, 80% comes from, you get 80% of effects from one thing and then 20% from the other. I believe that not including links in your email is part of that 20% group. Like, it might make a teeny tiny difference, maybe a little bit here and there, but there are much bigger things. For instance, sending relevant and personalized cold emails to people that they open and engage with is going to be far and away the deliverability technique that pays more dividends than messing around with Spintax and custom tracking domains and all of the other little nuanced things, adding, throttling the cadence of sending. These are all 20% activities when it comes to cold email. So that's my recommendation there. All right. I'm going to do one more, and then if we have live questions, I'll answer those. If not, I'm going to wrap up at the 30-minute mark. So this is the next question. Is this globally through all campaigns or just for the campaign where I do this setting? Advanced suppression, do not send to people I've emailed in the past XX days. All right. So this person's talking about suppression based on sending frequency. So let me explain what that is. When you are creating a GMass campaign, down here in the advanced section, you have the options for suppression. And that is people who you don't want to send the campaign to. Even if they were on your Google Sheet, you don't want the campaign to go out to them. And we offer a number of ways you can suppress people from campaigns, including people who are in different campaigns, people at certain domains. You could put in individual emails here, or you could do people you've emailed in the past however many days. So to answer this person's question, this works on a campaign by campaign basis. Suppression lists are contained within a campaign. So you are deciding that you do not want to email people with the campaign you're sending now if you've sent messages to those people within the past certain number of days. If you'd like to suppress people on a more long-term basis, the best way to do that is likely by by manually unsubscribing them. So here in the dashboard, you can go to unsubscribes, manage your unsubscribed addresses or domains, and then you can add people manually, or you can drag and drop a text file, an Excel file. We take a number of files where you can paste in emails to unsubscribe. You may want to remove those eventually, but if you need to have people not get a certain number of campaigns for a certain amount of time, it's probably best to unsubscribe them. The suppression lists and the suppress by number of days works on a campaign by campaign basis. All right. Well, seeing no more live questions, I am going to wrap up there. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. I am here every week at this time on Thursdays answering your live questions. So if you have them, please come back next time. Thank you for using GMass. If you have any further questions, ask support or just search the GMass blog. You can see that that's what I do, but searching the GMass blog, if you just type in your question here, it's going to surface the answer for you because we have answers for everything in here. You just have to look for them. And this search is based, so just type in your question and search for it and you should find your answer. But otherwise, I'm happy to always do walkthroughs. Happy to see you here at office hours, and I'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your day.